Wait for him just 1 second to answer back. For him just 1 second. Oh, to answer back. There we are.
So we're live.
Hold on.
Okay.
By the way, everyone, I've got you muted. You can unmute yourself when the time comes to talk, but in the meantime, be sure to stay muted. Thank you.
And we're live.
Good morning, Brookline. Hello. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Heather Hamilton. I'm a Brookline Select Board member, and I'm also joined by fellow Select Board member Raul Fernandez, who has graciously stepped up and is doing the technical back end for this call. I owe him a great debt. I also want to mention that we have Joe Viola, Assistant Director of Planning, and Virginia Bullock, who is also from our planning department. They're here, as well as members of the task force, who you'll hear from shortly. So before we begin, I want to give a bit of background on what I hope we can accomplish today. This is an unprecedented time when there are many unknowns. Many people have lost their jobs, businesses have closed, children are not in school, and essential workers are left without childcare options. When thinking about how the town could best respond, we decided, among other actions, to host this virtual town hall to hear from those who are on the front lines of this crisis so that they can talk about ways that can help the most. I want to impress upon those who are joining us that our primary focus today is to share information with and to hear from those working on aid efforts throughout Brookline. The point of this discussion is to communicate about efforts that are going on and identify ways we can all help each other and the best ways for those watching to help right now. Attendees are welcome to watch along and may ask questions at the end. I do want you all to know that this meeting is being recorded and will be shared publicly shortly after it's concluded. Also, there are a few essential functions in Zoom that you should be aware of. And Raul, please feel free to jump in and correct me. First, the vast majority of you are currently set as attendees. That means that your videos will be off and your mics will be muted unless I or Raul, as the moderator, allow otherwise. You're welcome to participate in the chat and write to other attendees. However, if you want to ask a question of any of our panelists, you'll need to use the Q&A function. You should see both the chat and the Q&A icons alongside others at the bottom of your window. I or Kathy Bisbee from BIG will read most questions that you submit to the panelists during the Q&A session after a facilitated dialogue with the organizations. Let me say this right now. This is a fluid and evolving situation. We'll share as much information as we have to date, and we'll do our best to answer your questions as fully as we're able. Back here in Brookline, vital town business continues to be conducted, albeit virtually. We are in the process of determining what to do about our upcoming election and town meeting in May. More updates to come on that over the next week. There are currently 15 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Brookline, including members of our fire department. And we are committed to taking further action as necessary and within our powers to limit the increase of that number. Succeeding in this critically important effort will require your active support. In addition to the restrictions that I've just mentioned, the Select Board has also issued guidance related to social distancing, which means staying at home unless absolutely necessary and staying at least 6 feet apart from anyone who doesn't live in your home. The governor has also taken strong action by, among other things, encouraging employers to allow their employees to work from home and by shutting down non-essential businesses. We've also been reminding people to wash their hands and regularly, and in addition to use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. I want to say this loud and clear. You can pass on this virus even if you are asymptomatic. That means that you can feel and appear completely healthy and still have this virus and give it to others. That goes for the generally young and healthy as much as anyone else. There's also evidence that suggests that the virus can live for a time in the air and on surfaces, which makes social distancing and regular disinfecting even more critical. Information on this and everything I've shared to this point is available at brooklinecovid19.com. That is the site for official, up-to-date information on Brookline's response to this crisis. Once again, that's one word, brooklinecovid19.com. With that, I'll ask Frank Steinfeld of the Brookline Community Foundation to start us off with the first organizational introduction. And I will remind him that we have about 20 participants, so the shorter, the better. Frank, take it away.
Thanks, Heather, and thanks, Raul, and thanks everybody for joining today. I promised Heather I'd be quick, and I will. I'm the interim CEO of the Brookline Community Foundation, and as most of you know, BCF has been and will continue to be a central resource that serves everyone who lives, works, or goes to school in Brookline. Our goal in general is to understand and address needs by directing resources to local nonprofits and town agencies. While we generally have supported a range of programs through grant making, research, and convening, during the COVID-19 crisis, we're focusing almost all of our energy on emergency assistance for basic needs through the safety net. Safety net is a service we created over a decade ago, although its history really goes back a century and a half to the early Brookline Friendly Society in terms of social work and outreach. But the current version was created really about a decade or so ago with our partner, the Brookline Center, who provide all of the direct service. It concentrates on the basics: food, utilities, rental assistance, and other urgent needs like payments for medication or other resources that are missing during this crisis. Over the years, we've worked with most of the local nonprofits and agencies. We expect that the safety net will serve many of their constituents, your constituents. And our partners at the center do a great job of working with individuals to understand their challenges and then to help out with direct support and information about how to access other resources that may be available. We also are coordinating outreach with groups across town, including housing and the senior center, faith-based groups, schools, and others. Our main goal is to ensure that the people that need help during these extraordinary circumstances know about the safety net service, and also to let people who want to give help know about the resource and encourage them to donate. BCF is committed to ongoing fundraising to drive this effort. So please let people know that Safety Net at the Brookline Center is available to anyone who needs it or anyone who is able to contribute to the cause. Contact information is on our website, is on their website, and it's right through the Brookline Center. And they are ready and staffed to support intake and then move forward with next steps. So thank you, and we look forward to working with everyone here.
Thank you so much, Frank. And I know that the select board will definitely be touting the safety net as our answer to what other communities are doing to address the needs of its residents.
And one thing I'd add is a lot of communities are coming up now with a COVID-19 fund or some new facility to address this. And I think we're fortunate to have already in place a resource that was designed for just this kind of problem, and it's worked at the sort of baseline level of town need. And now as it expands, we've been working with Ian very closely to really think about how to address these issues remotely and to be able to continue without a gap in that service.
Excellent. Let's next hear from Brookline Thrives.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Bowen. I am the executive director of the Brookline Food Pantry and our program Brookline Thrives. So right now, as the schools are not open, we are giving out Thrives bags to any child who wants them. We are at our pantries. We are keeping our regular hours 4 days a week at all 3 of our locations. So the child is welcome to come get their bag, but also their family is welcome to take home food for the rest of the family as well. So that's been working out really well. We're seeing hugely increased numbers pretty much every day we open, and we are helping a lot of people from outside of our immediate community as well. Things are just going very smoothly. We're thrilled to have wonderful partners in terms of resources of getting food. We haven't turned anybody down. We've been giving out 3 full bags of groceries to everybody. And yeah, things are just going very well for us, and we're helping as many people as we possibly can.
That is wonderful. And I do have a prompt question for you when we get to our facilitated discussion. But for now, let's move on to Ian Lang at the Brookline Mental Health Center.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you all for joining us here today. I want to pick up a little bit on what Frank said about the safety net, just to give a little bit of contact information and talk about some of the changes we've made, and then also talk about the other services that the center is providing. In terms of safety net, I would urge people who are in need of sort of basic assistance or assistance to call us. The number at the center is 617-277-8107. Say that you're calling for safety net, and you'll be referred to the safety net program. You can also email us at safetynet@brooklinecenter.org. So please reach out. As you can imagine, we are getting a lot of requests, but we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. A couple of changes that we've made in order to make sure that this fund is available to support needs across the community. First, we've historically, the safety net has been people have only been able to access that 1 time a year. We've waived that, so people can now access that up to 2 times a year. So if you're out there and have already used the safety net this year, please do not hesitate to outreach us. You are still eligible to receive funds through the safety net. We've raised the limit. So historically, the limit was $800, and we've raised it to $1,000. And then the third thing that we've done is that in the past, we've usually paid 1 bill. And so given the fact that there could be many competing pressures for people, we're going to expand so that you can have multiple bills paid up to that $1,000 limit. So people will hopefully that will provide some additional flexibility to help people through this difficult time. In addition, the center remains open and seeing clients to provide mental health care. We've moved everything to a virtual provision of services. So all of our clinicians have been trained to provide care through telehealth. And so we are now accepting new intakes. Again, you can call the number that I mentioned earlier, 617-277-8107, and we will link you to services if you need them. If you're an existing client, we would urge you also to call. We're doing our best to make sure that people can access services. So with that, I'll go ahead and finish, and thank you so much again for organizing this important town hall.
Thank you. Absolutely. So next, let's turn to Matt Cooney at the Brookline Teen Center.
Good morning, all. How are you? Thanks for hosting and thanks for having us. A couple of things. We're entering a new world like everybody else is in terms of trying to offer services not in person but virtually. All of our staff have been reaching out to students that are regular users of the Teen Center, trying to discover sort of how they're doing, what their status is, what their needs are. Obviously, one of the things, and I think probably many people saw the letter that Paul Epstein, our founder, wrote to teens, emphasizing the importance of social distancing. And so a lot of the staff were reaching out personally to kids and really, again, emphasizing the need to stay at home. We've had a lot of luck with that. I think in the beginning, teens were really struggling to wrap their head around the concept. And so that has improved dramatically, and we're pleased with that. But part of our job right now is to really just stay connected with our teens and the families that we've gotten to know over the years. We're also reaching out to our past alumni that we know are still living in the town, particularly living in public housing, checking in to see how they're doing and what their needs are. So far, most seem to be doing okay, but we're sort of anticipating that need, as I think we all are, is kind of grow exponentially in the coming weeks. Some of the things that we're also doing, we are doing some, I have an intern, social work intern that's been continuing to do therapy virtually and connect with kids and make sure they're getting the support they need. We are doing some programming. My person who runs the music program has been connecting kids with one another to work on musical projects virtually just to keep kids entertained, have some fun, enjoy life. And he's working on doing a virtual concert coming up. So we're going to have a lot of kids recording stuff at home, and then we have a student that's going to be editing that and putting it together so that we can share that online. And then we're also just trying to share some of the good work that's happened in the past and some of the releases. It's just a way, both with students as well as with the greater community, so we can all at least smile a little bit. And then we're trying to raise some money. We do have a family support fund that we've had quietly for years, in which we utilize to support families in need or kids in need with clothing, food. And that fund had really been depleted over the last year. And so we are trying to raise some money for that as well, to help with housing, clothing, food, etc., needs that are going to arise. And then we're in the process of the staff are working on some virtual programming as we speak to engage teens not only in the music realm but fitness and exercise and just connecting kids with one another so that they're not feeling socially isolated. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Is the Brookline Education Foundation on this call? Elizabeth Escoli? We will move ahead then to the task force. So Casey Hatchett and Lee Jackson, do you want to say a few words about what the town had and then you take specifics?
Good morning. Good morning, Lee Jackson. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate being a part of this call. So thank you to Heather and Raul. I want to let you know we're working really hard at the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, to help plan and prepare for this extraordinarily difficult time for the town of Brookline. Each day we set on new tasks to help support the community helping community. And so, for instance, I'll give you a nutshell of what we're working on today, and then I'll ask if Casey can give you a little more details about food, but quickly. So today we're working on printing flyers for the food pantry because their demand has doubled. We want to make sure to include proper procedures for staying healthy and clean. So we'll be printing those for them today. We're also supporting the food pantry, which Casey will talk about here in a minute. We're also looking into hotels for our public safety personnel who might need a place to stay for quarantine, and other hospitals and nurses that may need that support too. We are working to put together a multidiscipline team. Started yesterday, we'll finish today, to assist the health department with regular checks. We are working on an MOU for this hotel support for our public safety teams. And we're working on making sure to support special populations with check-ins and calls regularly, daily, to support their mental health. We're working on supplies as well to make sure that we have stocked up for our public safety personnel. And then we're also going to develop a weekly Emergency Operations Center press release that we can, so we can keep the public up to date on what we're working on at the Emergency Operations Center. But with that, I'll let Casey give a few more details about the food support.
Good morning. I'll first start with just a bit of an overview. The Emergency Operations Center, just so you know, is comprised of representatives from Brookline Fire, Health, Police, Recreation, and school departments primarily. We have IT coming in and out, and other agencies that have been supporting as well. Recreation and the school department and our parking control officers have been the foundation of the call center, which is co-located here at our Emergency Operations Center. And they're taking calls on a daily basis from the community, and we're trying to pair them with resources and answering a lot of government-related questions as to how to do things now that everything's gone virtual. On a daily basis, our EOC liaisons reach out to folks in elder services, housing, mental health, and the food pantry to determine what's needed and how we can best support and coordinate services. Our school resource officers from the police department are following up with students that they work with that they know are in crisis and have special needs. Bear has been doing some FaceTime with some kids that are struggling. That's our comfort care dog, for those who don't know, doing some FaceTime with students that are struggling at home with their schedules being thrown off. Our domestic violence unit is following up with families that they've been working with that they know need additional support at this time. And we do have a program in place to assist those who are living in a domestic violence situation that are having difficulty sheltering at home. And they can reach out to our domestic violence unit by either calling or texting the police department. You can call our main number, 617-730-2222. You can now also text to 911. And if there's anyone on the line who does need to be connected with our domestic violence unit to look into some alternate housing, please just text to 911 if you cannot call and ask to be connected to them. We are also participating in a program tomorrow to talk about how to support our homeless population during this crisis. Continuing to work with Brookline Housing through our walk and talk officers who are assigned to work with housing as well as the teen center to check in and see what the needs are. Our elder affairs officer, Mike Desario, daily works with the Council on Aging and the social workers to determine needs of our elder population, and our department social worker continues to work with Brookline Community Mental Health. So I feel we're pretty tapped into the community. Many of you sitting virtually here in front of me now to just help support and determine what the needs are immediately and going forward. We were really happy yesterday to have some work with the food pantry and secure additional freezer and fridge space with them at New Lincoln School. Thank you to the school department for that. And we're looking to address some of the transportation needs that they'll have for their rapidly expanding demand, particularly for home delivery. We continue to distribute the informational flyer to the community. We do have that translated into 5 languages. If anyone on this call would like a copy of any of those, please feel free to just email me at chatchet@brooklinema.gov and we'll make sure you have that. It can also be found on the town's COVID website, which has a tremendous amount of information. The call center here is not currently overwhelmed. We're receiving about 30 calls per day. The state 211 system does have about a 90-minute wait, so their call volume is becoming somewhat overwhelming for them. So I do think we'll see an increase here. We just continue to support the needs of our public safety personnel in ordering personal protective equipment and other supplies and serving as a conduit here for resource allocation within the town. And I'm happy to take any questions offline from any of you that we may need to coordinate other services in the community.
Thank you so much to you both. Speaking of housing, I know we have Brookline Housing here with us. Danielle Mendola?
Yes.
If you want to say a few words.
Yes, sure. I'm here representing the BHA. So as many of you know, the Brookline Housing Authority is the primary provider of affordable housing in Brookline. We house about 60 to 70% of the very low income residents in Brookline, which is around 900 households and some Section 8 voucher holders as well. We are considered essential by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And not only that, but we are in fact mandated to continue services during this time. The BHA has been very proactive in responding to this developing situation. We were one of the first in the town to suspend all group activities, including our English classes that I manage, and group activities for the elderly, our congregate meal program, and others. But we've also tried to take actions to make the spaces as safe and clean as possible and with the least amount of interrupted services. So we now offer our congregate meal program as a cold box lunch that can be taken. It can also be delivered to people's homes. We have hired 2 additional sanitation workers that are solely dedicated to cleaning the buildings multiple times throughout the day. We're trying to communicate with residents door to door through a letter that was translated into 3 languages. And we are continuing to maintain a limited on-site presence with a skeleton crew of various departments every day, while also expanding our remote presence. I think we've ordered about 15 phones and a lot of laptops to enable folks to be able to continue working from home. And then with regards to resident services, a lot of the programming is continuing with modifications. Our free tax preparation program has now shifted to serving clients through mail and fax as opposed to in-person appointments. And our direct service staff or service coordinators are now contacting residents and reaching out to residents by phone as opposed to in-home visits or in-person visits. we know from these conversations and the feedback we're getting from residents that people are being affected by this crisis. People's hours are being cut. They are being laid off. Some of them are not eligible for unemployment because of being per diem or the type of work that they did. So they are being affected financially. And so what the BHA is doing is to expedite rent adjustments and to have a lot of flexibility around the documentation at this time. Our priority is to make sure that people's housing stability is not interrupted. And so we'll kind of, do whatever we can to make sure that people, don't have more stress in addition to the impacts that they're having. So, and just lastly, we really rely on our service partners, many of whom are represented on this call. And so we really appreciate the work that you're doing, reaching out to us, trying to make sure that our residents are considered, and that the word and just the services are that they're able to continue to access those. So thank you very much to you all. And
absolutely, thank you for the work that you're doing. So we have Ruth Ann Dobeck and Frank Caro on the line, both representing Ruth Ann representing the Council on Aging and Frank representing the Brookline Community Aging Network. Ruth Ann, why don't you try to go first? Ruth Ann? Maybe Frank?
Ruth Ann is having some technical problems, but
okay.
She mentioned that the senior center is taking calls at 617-730-2777 for anyone who has a question or an issue, and that's in the chat here. Folks.
Great. Frank, would you want to supplement anything?
Yeah, I guess I'm now able to be heard. I should say that, on behalf of the Council on Aging, I'm sorry that Ruth Ann is not able to be connected, but the Council on Aging staff members are very much engaged in dealing with this crisis. They're working from home. They're in one-to-one telephone communication with older people who have experiencing difficulties of one sort or another, and the Council on Aging strongly encourages older people who are in distress to contact the Council on Aging, and they'll have a member of the staff get in touch with them and help them to work through whatever issues that they're dealing with. I also want to say a little something about what the Brookline Community Aging Network is doing. We're an organization of older people who are looking on Brookline as a good place for older people to live. And in ordinary times, we're out there encouraging people to get out of their homes, to be engaged, to be involved with the life of the community. And in this situation, since we are a vulnerable group, it's particularly important for us to remain safe, to stay at home. So our emphasis right now is in providing information, and we're doing that in large part through a newsletter, which we are circulating both electronically and in print form. I'm going to hold a copy of the newsletter in front of the camera so that people can see it. We have over 700 subscribers to our electronic newsletter. It's also available on the Brookline CAN website. What we're doing with the newsletter is really two things. One is that we're disseminating the kind of information that is being shared here today. We're closely monitoring the town's websites and getting information out to our members. We're also trying to do some things to help people to keep their spirits up in these difficult times. So we're offering suggestions about things that they can read electronically, about things they can binge on cable television, giving them ideas about going out and getting puzzles to keep themselves amused. So we're doing a variety of things to encourage people to remain in good spirits as they can under these trying times. So thanks for the opportunity to share that.
Thank you so much, Frank. So next we're going to hear from Steps to Success. And at that point, we'll be about halfway through the organizations. So just want to let everybody know. I really appreciate everybody sticking to the 3 minutes so that we can try to get to Q&A. So Shoma, are you on the line?
Shoma, I think you're still muted. Yep, there you go.
Apologies. Hi, I'm Shoma Hawk. I'm the Executive Director of Steps to Success. Thank you for having me. I'm working closely with Jeanette Sargent, our PSB Steps to Success Coordinator, who's also on this panel. Jeanette, do you want to say hi? She may also be on mute. So as you may know, Steps to Success is an in-school and out-of-school program that works closely to close the opportunity gap for students from low-income families in Brookline. Primarily, we serve students who live in public housing from 4th grade through college graduation. We've been working closely with public schools, local organizations, and public agencies to disseminate information as quickly and comprehensively as possible with regards to COVID. In addition to reaching out to parents and families to ascertain their immediate needs, our staff have been in touch with organizations to communicate and coordinate those needs. So our priorities in the past 2 weeks have really been focused on basic needs. So ensuring our families are aware of hours and pickup locations for food through the Brookline Food Pantry and through PSB Food Services, making sure they have babysitting and other supports. So we've been in regular communication to connect our families with organizations like Mutual Aid Brookline. We've also been connecting with families to make sure they have Chromebooks, so they know when to go into the schools to pick up their Chromebooks so they can use those for distance learning during school closure. And then making sure they know where to access money for basic needs. So financial support for rent, utilities, et cetera, through the Brookline Safety Fund. And then we also have a student support fund ourselves to make sure students, for example, who are coming home from college and need travel funds are able to do so. So over the course of the next week, we've been checking individually with our elementary middle school families to ascertain their immediate needs and develop some individualized support for children to limit learning loss during this time. We're sending out a weekly newsletter through our after-school staff and also determining what kind of age-appropriate resources, tools, and learning topics and enrichment activities our kids can be involved in during the closure. We're also checking in with our high school and college students, making sure they're on track to complete their matriculation checklist, do their classes online, do virtual college tours, apply for summer internships, et cetera, as appropriate. So as the situation continues to evolve, we're going to continue working together with our family and all of our community-based partners, such as yourself, to meet the needs of our students and families during this difficult time. Jeanette, do you have anything else to add?
Thanks for that, Shoma. So just want to say that advisors, there are 7 program advisors that work with 270 Steps to Success students, 4th through 12th grade. So they'll be reaching out to families at least twice a week to check in with them, ascertain what their needs are. The next Chromebook pickup is today at 4 locations, starting at 11:30. And we want to make sure that families are aware of the food that they can pick up through Public Schools of Brookline, as well as Shoma said, the Brookline Thrives and the Pantry. Also just acknowledging that the needs that we're hearing from families are food as the most pressing need, groceries, and to also acknowledge that a number of students who are old enough to work and parents are essentially emergency workers working at grocery stores, various supermarkets, Walgreens, and healthcare workers.
Great. Thank you guys very, very much. I know that we on the board have been asked about this particular effort. So it's good to hear it straight from you, what's being done. The next organization that I'd like to hear from is Mutual Aid Brookline. Bonnie, if you want to say a few words.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. So Mutual Aid Brookline is a community-generated initiative that's created a central infrastructure for resources to be accessed really quickly. So I know there's all across Brookline, there's neighborhood efforts happening organically. We try to be a central source so that there's no neighborhood that is without resources. So if there is an elderly person across town that doesn't have anyone knocking on their door asking if they're okay, we're trying to flyer everywhere so that they can call and ask for food delivery or whatever they might need, someone to talk to. We are an immediate solution to these problems. So how I see us fitting into this whole network of you wonderful organizations is that we are the people that if you need a grocery delivery right now, if you need medication right now, you can call us, you can email us, and we can arrange for a volunteer to do that shopping for you safely, deliver it to you, communicate best practices for you to receive those groceries or medication or whatever. And we can have that happen within 24 hours. And if it needs to happen within 2 hours, we can do that too. So we also have options for childcare. We are connecting people who are still working that are in a desperate situation with people who are willing to provide childcare. We do a lot of work to facilitate conversations between those two parties to make sure that everybody feels safe in that arrangement. We pay our childcare workers. We make sure they are Cory checked. And so that is a resource that's available. We also, I forgot to mention with the grocery delivery, we have the option to pay for those groceries if someone is in financial crisis. So we do grocery delivery, medication delivery, childcare, all the way down to a system of people that are available to talk if someone just needs someone to talk to. And we also are trying very hard to connect with everybody that's here. If you haven't heard from me, you will hear from me very soon to make sure that we are all coordinating. And when we run into a need that is something that we can't, that we aren't capable of providing for, I direct them to the Safety Net Fund or, all of these resources, the food pantry. So yeah, that's Mutual Aid Brookline. We have a hotline. The phone number is 617-651-1468. And the email is mutualaidbrookline@gmail.com. There's a Google Doc that is serving as our website with lots of links. If you're someone who has resources that you think someone could use, you can post those there. And if you're someone who has a need, you can go there and see what kind of needs we are able to fill. And that's us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I know that you guys popped up, right away, and we're trying to put people in touch with each other.
Yes.
So
I also, one last note, we are not a 501c3. We are just a group of community members, just to be very clear about that. And also we take donations.
Excellent. So then I want to turn to some of the neighborhood associations that are trying to help their neighbors. And if you could just be really quick, I will give it to Paula Friedman over at the Brookline Neighborhood Association, or is it Alliance? Brookline Neighborhood Alliance. Paula, you're on mute.
Okay, good morning. I'll be as brief as I can be. Heather, thank you very much for organizing this. Raul, thank you for providing technical support. I am so impressed with the amount of resources and dedication and commitment, but not surprised throughout our town. I represent the Brookline Neighborhood Alliance, which is an association of neighborhood associations. We are an overarching umbrella organization. Our primary goal is to disseminate information and share information. Many of our board members are town meeting members as well. We get a lot of information from town meeting that we want to make sure that people throughout the town get, and not everybody in the town is connected to all of the organizations that are represented here. So we feel that our mission is to try and share through the neighborhood associations. Just as a piece of information, we always have a board vote on what should be disseminated, because we don't want to flood people's inboxes, and we want to be, the information we share is not paid information. For example, if somebody has a paid event, that's not something that we generally disseminate information about. The reason I mention this is because in this situation about COVID-19, we have made an exception, and our corresponding secretary, John Bassett, has been given free rein that anything related to policy, procedure, process involving COVID-19 can go out without the time-consuming process of having to vet it through the board. We feel very comfortable in sharing any and all information currently about COVID-19 with all our neighborhood associations. I will just take a little side note and say that not everybody, it belongs to a neighborhood association. So one of the things that we did in our precinct is set up a Facebook page to, at least for our immediate neighbors, try and share the same kind of information. No political statements, no political ads, just information sharing about what to do and the resources available for meeting the COVID-19 emergencies. I think that's basically it, except that as individuals, we have all reached out to neighbors whom we know to see if there's any way that we can, as individuals, be of help and assistance. And I think that's also an important thing to stress, that in addition to all these wonderful, wonderful groups on this call, there are also people-to-people contacts on an individual basis, and we try and do that too. So thank you again very much.
Excellent. So Cory Hill is up next, and then Precinct 4 will be after that. Jen Goldsmith?
Hi, this is Jen Goldsmith. I don't know if anyone else from Cory Hill is on, but they can chime in if they are, and I'll speak quickly. So like other precincts and communities, it's been really important to us over time to try to build some connectedness, like in the context of town meeting overall. And that becomes really helpful as we're bridging into this kind of emergency response. So we have a listserv that we've long had. We have a Facebook page that we've long had. And we've really tried to pump up the participation, asking people to reach out to their neighbors, just because that seems like the most direct way to reach the community. And then we also created a form so that people with particular needs can enter their needs, and I can share the form link. And also that if people want to offer help, they also can submit to that form. It's more intuitive than asking people who don't typically go into spreadsheets to enter information into a spreadsheet. And two particular thoughts that we've been considering a lot. One is effectiveness of communication. And I am especially struck by the breadth of amazing resources being described here, and that not living in one unified place. So even as I think about what communication will I share with our precinct coming out of this call, my preference, and I know Raul is working on this, is to have a one-stop shop under resources on the Brookline COVID page that links out to all of these resources. I also worry a little bit about the balkanization that exists among these resources because it's confusing. And and another thing I just want to mention, because there's been a lot of interest in making donations to hospitals. I work at Brigham and Women's as one of the hats that I wear, and they're taking donations, as are other hospitals. That would be an important thing to put on that resource website. That's the way people have wanted to help. I just want to say one other thing. So there's a confirmed case of COVID on my street, and for all of the resources that and several people in quarantine, for all the resources that we're sharing and the desire to help, there's a huge amount of stigma associated with this. And I personally experienced that the person who's COVID positive I was with 16 days ago, and he didn't tell me until 2 days ago that he tested positive. So for 14 days, he knew he was sick, didn't tell my family, and we were with other people. And I'm sure that's not unprecedented. And those kinds of intense interpersonal decisions are rampant globally. And so as intentional as we are in providing resources, I think we also have to recognize that there's a human nature factor, and people don't necessarily want to ask for help, let alone share that they've been contagious. I don't mean to be negative, but we were pretty shocked. And the people we were with when we were with this person were 2 infectious disease docs who have since been working in the hospital. So that person, who himself is a physician, made a choice not to share information. And if someone who's that knowledgeable does, people can inadvertently make choices like that. And it really casts a dark shadow on all of the work that we're trying to do to think how complicated this is.
Thank you for sharing that very important story. Mariah Nebrega lives in Precinct 4 as a town meeting member, also candidate for school committee. Do you want to say a few words? Short.
Sure. So in Precinct 4, we didn't have much of a communication within the precinct, but I've been doing a lot of work recently to try and ramp that up. We had a listserv, but it didn't have many people. I made a flyer. I've been asking neighbors to hang them up around the precinct with things like just having a QR code that will automatically subscribe you to the precinct listserv. And so we've been sending out regular updates. At the beginning, I was sending out messages about specifically public health, social distancing, really just safety issues. And now that I feel like that's much more in place, we've been focusing more on messaging around the mutual aid and community building. So sharing mutual aid flyers, letting people know where they can pick up food, encouraging people who can to donate money to the food pantry, for example. And then the other thing I've been working on, and I'm offering help for this if people need it, although it sounds like many organizations have this in place, is I've been working with the Parks Department to, for example, get the signs translated into other languages, the parks closed signs. And I've been working on this with Mutual Aid and Bonnie as well to get those their flyers translated. And so if anyone needs help, I've got people who are translating into Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, and Spanish. And I'm happy to help if you send me material to get those turned around.
Excellent. Great. Next, I'd like to hear from Inspo Expo, Hadassah Margolis.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I have actually, I think, 4 different projects that I can briefly talk about. The first is Inspo Expo. It is a way to connect neighbors in Brookline to social action projects and a way for people who are involved with those projects to get volunteers. So I am working on getting information across these lines to see if there are people who are interested in volunteering from their home, and seeing what you all need and what other organizations and individuals need in order to help your projects, because you shouldn't just be taking care of us, we should be helping you. So that's the first one, and I'll give all of my information to the side on the chat. The second project is Welcome Blanket Brookline. So for those of you who are housebound and are looking for something to do, so Welcome Blanket provides blankets for new immigrants and refugees here. We are continuing to get requests from resettlement agencies across the country who still need these blankets. So if you are a knitter or a crocheter and you have some time and you would like to participate, I will send that information as well. We're also looking into some online virtual knitting group circles and meetups. So it's also a way to kind of take on the isolation that we're all feeling. The third thing is just like Jen and Mariah mentioned, I'm in Precinct 8, and we just launched a Google group for our precinct for neighbors who are really hyperlocal to come together and ask questions, reach out for help, and offer help. So that is also happening. And the last thing is that my Welcome Blanket team, we are probably today launching another national ask. It's called Masks for Humanity. And we are we are asking our participants who are major craftivists all over the country and all over the world to help with the masks shortage. We already had a request for 10,000 masks. So if you are a sewer, if you would like to sew, if you would like to get involved, Masks for Humanity is going to be the hub between people who are on the front lines and essential workers and people who want to make the masks. That's what I got. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I know Lisa Cunningham, a town meeting member in Precinct 15, is also starting to put out more information about that very thing as well. So I hope that you two can connect.
We're collaborating.
Great. So next, I would like to turn to the Brookline Art Center, who has been very patient.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Lauren Riviello. I'm the Executive Director of the Brookline Art Center. We're a visual arts center committed to bringing the community meaningful experiences in the arts through classes, exhibitions, and outreach. And even while we're closed, we're very committed to fulfilling this mission in the best way that we can. And we know that now more than ever, art has a tremendous ability to help us heal, connect, relieve stress, and just to have fun. So what we've primarily been focused on is developing an art at home series for all age levels. So these activities are all posted online on our website, and they range from sketchbook prompts for adults and teens to proportional drawing lessons for slightly younger children, sculptures with found materials, all utilizing materials that should be hopefully easily found at home. So that's one thing that we've really been working to get the word out about. So if you want to take a look at those, that can be found on our website at www.brooklineartcenter.com. We are planning to move forward with a number of our spring session classes, mostly in 2D mediums, but we're working with our faculty right now to adapt those to work on more of a real-time online platform. So more info will be available about that soon as well. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So next we're going to hear from Women and Girls Thriving. But before we do, I just want to explain kind of the next steps. So we'll hear from Women and Girls Thriving. And then what I'd like to do is open it up to, I believe Chi-Chi Wu is on the line, who's representing the Brookline Asian American Family Network, to talk about, what has been happening in that community. I want to give our state representative, Tommy Batolo, an opportunity to speak, and then I'm going to turn it over to a couple of our Brookline town staff that have vital information. So with that being said, Anne, do you want to talk about Women and Girls Thriving?
There. I'm Ann Brackett from Women Thriving, Inc. We were for many years Women and Girls Thriving, a part of the Brookline Center. We have been funded largely by the Brookline Community Foundation. Thank you so much. Plus local donors. We're a group of over 200 women of all income levels and backgrounds and over 30 organizations, all volunteers. And we work to create opportunities for low-income women, opportunities in learning, leadership development, and community. Now, obviously, we've been, for all these years, since 2012, doing things in person. And we do a lot of workshop series, we do community dinners, we do a community garden, all free for low-income women, and all designed to fight debilitating isolation and anxiety and to provide pathways forward. And of course, this work is more important than ever now. At this time, as so many of you have talked about, we are also changing our way of operating and reaching out online. We have a great group that's been funded this year by BCF, which is called our Leadership Corps. It's a group of 7 of our low-income women, our thrivers, as we call them, who are very involved, very highly motivated and skilled, developing further skills, and they are reaching out to their friends and neighbors, other women with low income, to talk informally. And this week, we're starting some online Zoom groups that are informal, giving women a chance to talk about their concerns, their challenges, ideas for helping each other. And this is all in English and Spanish. Our leadership core has 4 women who are Spanish speaking. And so that's a big help as well. Over the next couple of weeks, we're hoping, or perhaps a little bit longer, to start hosting online groups similar to our previous workshop series, but expanding to additional people. But we especially want to offer opportunities to learn some of the resiliency skills taught in our Surviving and Thriving workshop series, because they're so important right now. They include stress relief and self-care, positive self-talk, using assertive language when needing, and developing bite-sized goals. So these are the kinds of things. What do we need? We're all volunteers. We need donors who can help to support the work, who can help support the leadership core, who are all at home now, a lot with small kids, et cetera. We need volunteers. We need volunteers to help with and who have ideas for new online programming. And I know we've always collaborated with the Art Center and want to do some more of that. But also we need volunteers who have technology skills, who can help us as we make our social media presence much more robust and helpful to people. And from our thrivers, we really just want to ask you, don't hold back. So many are so hesitant to go onto the online Zoom groups. And as you can see, if you're watching, it's fun. And it's so great to see people's faces and to talk together. And to join one of the online groups. And for everyone, you can check our website either to donate or to check for our contact information, including all 7 of our leadership core members. And our website is Women Thriving MA for Massachusetts.org, WomenThrivingMA.org. And thanks so much for this opportunity today.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for all that everyone is doing.
Mm-hmm. So Chi-Chi, would you like to say a few words? I know that we're trying to find a virtual town hall, put that together that would be completely dedicated on this topic, but this would be a good opportunity to just kind of do a teaser trailer.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the introduction and having me on this virtual town hall. So my name is Chi-Chi Wu, and I'm with the Brookline Asian American Family Network. For those of you who don't know our organization, it's an unincorporated parent group that was founded to support Asian and Asian American students in the Brookline schools. One of the things I've been trying to do, or we've been trying to do in response to COVID-19 is just to get information out in multiple Asian languages to the folks that are on our listserv. We have a listserv of a few hundred folks and our Facebook group. And so I've sent out information both from national groups and locally. If you have materials in different Asian languages, please send them to me. I'll send them out. Thank you, Mariah. The materials, and so has Raul. So with respect to the Asian American community, as many of you may have heard, what's going on is there's been a even some acts of anti-Asian violence on a national level. Locally, there have been hate incidents, and so what we would like to do in the near future is have a virtual event to encourage other folks in the Brookline community, non-Asians, if something is happening to an Asian American, if they're being subject to hate speech or other anti-Asian sentiment, to how to intervene, sort of how with anti-bullying curriculum, they teach the kids how to be an ally, or how to intervene safely. And we'd like to do something like that on a virtual level too. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know that was a little hard for some people to hear, but hopefully your message came through at the end. And we will be putting together a completely dedicated virtual town hall on this very subject at a date to be determined. So I want to give the opportunity for our state representative, Tommy Vitolo, to kind of update us. Then we'll hear from the Brookline Chamber of Commerce, our economic development director, Kara Bruton, if she has anything to add. A few other town employees have a few things that they want to share with the group, and then we will maybe just turn it right over to Q&A, because I know we're running a little long. But I'll do one or two prompt questions to get us started. So, Tommy.
Hi, my name is Tommy Vitolo. I want to thank Select Board Member Hamilton, and I will say that this is by far the most impressive panel I've ever been on. So thank you to everyone who's on. Very quickly, my office is really focused on three particular things. One, we're working with the town to make sure that town government as an entity is able to continue functioning in compliant with state laws that relates to elections, town meeting, and a variety of other issues. Number two, obviously I'm focused on legislation statewide related to both flattening the curve, ensuring that our medical personnel and first responders have the supplies they need, and paying attention to support for folks who either have already were vulnerable or now are vulnerable. And so we're working through all of that. And the third thing, and I think the most immediate in many ways, is I am available as a resource for everyone for anything. So call me, 617-872-8921, or email me at my State House email account, tommy.vitolo@mahouse.gov. That's V as in Victor, ITOLO. Reach out for me for anything. Reach out at any time. I promise you, I know how to turn my ringer off for 6 hours a day. And just reach out to me. I really look forward to getting the info for all of you. So when folks reach out to me, I can reach out to you and say, I have a constituent, we have a constituent who needs help. I think you might be able to help this person. And so really thank you to the Select Board and others for making this happen. And call me or email me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. So next I'll call upon Debbie Miller of the Brookline Chamber of Commerce, and also use this as a plug for Raul Fernandez, who is also a Select Board member on this call, chairs the Small Business Committee. And they had a virtual meeting last Thursday. They're having another one tomorrow morning. So with that, Debbie, take it away.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Raul. And thank you for everything that all the panelists are doing. You're doing such important work. It makes all of us listening feel so good. So the chamber has been really, really busy lately, as you can imagine. The stipulations for businesses change on the hour and daily. And so we've been getting the word out on a daily basis to our businesses to let businesses know what the opportunities are, what the restrictions are, keep them informed. We've also been making some connections for businesses, which is really important in this time. I mean, everything from hearing from an assisted living place that we have here in Brookline Goddard House, that they're under a lot of stress, as you can imagine right now. And then our arts organizations really stepped up. Lauren, who you just heard from, they right away came up with a virtual arts program for these people. And right away, Roxy from the Puppet Show Place Theater had some virtual adult puppet shows that she could share. And then also the Brookline Music School said that they would be having some programming for them online, which is terrific. So I think everybody is really stepping up. And this Thursday, next Thursday, April 2nd, at 9 o'clock, we will be announcing today or tomorrow that the Chamber is going to be hosting an online webinar for everybody. It's just going to be called Moving Forward. It's going to be technology and creativity for your business. And we want to hear from other businesses and learn about what they really care about, and then try to answer some of their questions for them with experts. I just implore all of you to just visualize how you feel when you walk down the streets in Brookline, how you feel when you walk into businesses and people know who you are. They know what your tastes are. They know your name. These businesses are really struggling right now. They're under extreme duress. And before anybody presses a button to order from Amazon, please think to yourself, and please ask your friends to think twice, that if it's something you can buy locally, please try to buy locally. On the Chamber website right now, thanks to the Mutual Aid Society of Brookline, they just popped up. They were amazing. They also came up with a list of businesses and how they're doing businesses differently now. So we also have that on our website. In about a week, we will have different businesses on our website that can sell gift cards. We also direct people on our website to the town for information so businesses can know what's happening, such as SBA loans that are available and how to access those loans. If you want to keep up with what's happening in the business world, we invite anybody who wants to get our newsletter to come to our website, brooklinechamber.com, sign up for our newsletter. If anybody has any questions or concerns, always feel free to email me, Debbie, DEBBIE, at brooklinechamber.com. And again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. So I know Caitlin Starr from our staff wanted to share a bit of information. So Caitlin, why don't you do that now?
Thank you, Heather. My name is Caitlin Starr. I'm the Assistant Director in the Brookline Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. Our Community Relations Specialist, Sarah Kaplan, can help remotely assist residents with enrolling in health insurance. The Mass Health Connector has announced that uninsured residents can apply and get coverage through a 45-day window running until April 25th to ensure that they are covered for any COVID-19 treatment or testing that they would need. She can be reached at skaplan, KAPLAN, at brookline.org, or at 617-730-2329. And I'll put her information in the chat box for everybody. I just wanted to share that in case anybody knows anybody who needs health insurance. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That is vital information. So Kathy from Bisbee from BIG, I know that you wanted to, you had an ask of the community and maybe even this group.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today and for Heather and Raul to partner with us to make this happen, and also for Tommy Vitolo, who has, I'll plug his own show. He's doing a new show that will be live on Thursdays on the cable channels and on Facebook as well. So our entire operation has been remote, and we've been providing daily updates and emergency information. We covered about 10 live government meetings last week and about 4 already this week. So even though we're really swamped with a lot of requests from the community, our goal is really to make sure that the community has access to all of this information and that it's publicly accessible, and that we can still support creators and information givers during this time. So a couple of things, brooklineinteractive.org/live is where all of our live coverage, there's live government meetings every single day of the week except Fridays. So tune in. We're also on Facebook and we're on the cable channels. We have about 20,000 cable subscribers in Brookline, which is a really high cable penetration. So I just want to remind you all of that because we'd love to take your content and get it out on the channels so that we can reach more people as they're at home watching a lot of TV right now. We've also created a community survey, and I'll share that out in the chat, and we can also send it out in email to everyone. We're seeking community feedback about the kinds of important information that people want to hear from both their elected officials and their government, state, local, and federal level. So I'll share that survey out with you so that you can fill it out. And then while we were on the call, I just made a Google form. If folks want to, and I just shared it out a few minutes ago in the chat at 11:09. So if you scroll up, you can see it. Just click on that link. It's really, really quick. It just asks for your basic nonprofit information. And I'm happy to compile a list and then share that back out with the group so that we all know who's doing what and can remember all of the great resources that have been shared. And I can coordinate with you, Casey, and others who are doing that as well so that we can not overlap and not do double the work. Also want to mention for nonprofits and for small businesses, we're updating the cable channels every single day with any information about how to access your small business, if you're still open, how you're open, what are the parameters for that. And we're doing the same for nonprofits and for local government as well. So if you have any information, please send it to info@brooklineinteractive.org. That comes directly to me and members of our team, and we'll be updating that content daily. And we've been doing things like doing live Zoom content of people teaching Tabata classes at home. And we did one of the temple services on Friday night live onto the cable channels onto Facebook. So if you have events or activities like Matt at the Teen Center, we'd love to broadcast and cablecast and share those out with the community as well. So please think of us and let us know how we can help you to get the word out to the community about all this great work that you're doing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for all the work that you and your staff have been doing at BIG. We wouldn't be able to provide this service without you. So thank you. I want to give a brief opportunity for the schools. Susan Wolf-Didkoff from the school committee is with us. Hi, Susan.
Hi, everyone. First, thank you all for joining this call and for just the incredible work you're doing. This really is Brookline at its best. You are Brookline at our best. And there's just such an incredible flowering of support and generosity during this time. And I think I just want to echo something that Tommy said, which is that any community would be grateful to have 3 of you, let alone the dozens here and the dozens and hundreds behind you. So at any rate, thank you also to Select Board Member Heather and Raul for coordinating this, because I do think that there's something really important about this focus on sort of coordination, connection, and communication, sort of coordination among each other, connecting residents to resources and communication through this network out. So let me just say a couple things that the schools are doing. I think many of you are part of them. Many of you know this, but there are a few different pieces. One is food. We obviously are preparing, between 100 and 200 meals per day for our students. Breakfast and lunches are available. Pick up at 2 days at a time. And we're working with the food pantry and others, as was mentioned earlier, Fridge Space, the new Lincoln School, and potential uses of the school kitchen beyond that as we get into this. In terms of technology, the first rounds of Chromebooks have been distributed. There'll be more to students who need them. There's some conversations about Comcast service for our families who are having trouble with broadband, and there's more to come on both of those. In terms of education itself, I mean, certainly student learning and connection and engagement during this time is so important, not only for all of our students, but particularly our students with special needs, our students who are English learners, and a variety of other special populations. So all of those things is incredibly complicated, and our teachers are doing a wonderful, wonderful job under very trying circumstances. Not only, it's not only what we're all going through, but just in their own families, trying to deal with that as well, and putting themselves out there to learn and innovate on the fly, as we all are. So So that's all happening as well. And student mental health is obviously so important. So many of the schools are sending out resources about staying mentally healthy, physically healthy, et cetera. In terms of staff, the staff are scheduled to enter the buildings today in a safe and organized manner. They've all been sanitized, and our staff are going into the buildings to retrieve things. And finally, I can't emphasize enough the partnership with the EOC and the task force, not only about the use of the buildings to support community operations now and in the future, as this crisis likely will worsen over time, but all of the community partners who are involved here. And I can't name all the people, but Pantry, STEPS, Teen Center, Mental Health Center, Community Fund, and so many town departments. So I guess my only thought and hope for this call is that it sounds like there's incredible flowering, which is fantastic. There are probably some overlaps, which frankly is great, as long as we kind of can be clear about them. And if there are gaps, that's sort of the other place that I'm particularly interested. Like, who is it that's not being reached? So I do like the idea of trying to have one-stop shop. So if people come to us as school committee members asking for where are the places I can go to for food assistance, where are the places I can go to for immediate cash assistance, home help, childcare, technology, tutoring, physical health concerns, formal counseling, informal groups, personal safety. There's so much stigma, as we've said all along, that I think it's important for us to have that kind of one place that says, because they're not interested, the world is not interested in the way we institutionally organize ourselves. They're interested in what they need. So how might we sort of create that place for them to say, here are the 2 or 3 places you can go if this is your question, or if this is your topic. And then just any efforts that we can think about in terms of who aren't we reaching, who isn't receiving services. That's of great interest as well. So at any rate, thank you all. I hope we can kind of continue this. This is just an incredible set of people. So thank you.
Thank you, Susan, very much. So I was going to open it up for Q&A, but I don't really see any active questions in the queue, which is a little surprising. So one of the prompts that I was going to give to the food pantry in particular, because I know that they have been experiencing this, where people want to donate perishable or non-perishable items. But I believe that the best thing that people can do right now is to donate monetarily. And that's because anything that has a surface, has a big question mark. So I didn't know if Brookline Thrives is still on the call, and if they wanted to speak to what is the best way to help right now.
Yes. Thank you, Heather. That's a really big topic for us right now, as you can imagine, because so many people feel this would be an immediate way for them to help. If they're already in the grocery store, why not pick up a few more things? But you raise one very good point, and I'll raise another. We are trying to minimize any contact and both for our volunteers as well as for the clients who we hand the food out to. So I do think that as lovely as a gesture as going to the grocery store and getting some extra things is, it's, we don't know how the germs are being spread. And so that kind of contact isn't very smart at this time. Secondly, we have really cut our volunteer shifts down to bare bones in terms of how many people we have in each building at a time. So it's actually taking away from the important work of packing the bags and getting the food out to our clients as quickly as possible if volunteers have to be pulled aside to date check and sort through bags of groceries. We really just don't want to bring extra people in and have more volunteers in a room at any time if necessary. The third thing, which I know a lot of people don't realize, is that almost 80% of our food comes from a wonderful resource called the Greater Boston Food Bank. I'm sure many of you have heard of them. And the truth of the matter is that you would have to buy $100 in groceries at the grocery store to equal a $10 donation to us. That's how much free and reduced food we get from the Greater Boston Food Bank. So if you're thinking, how can I maximize my donation? if you gave me $20, I will get $200 worth of food with that money. So it really just makes sense if you if anyone does have the means to help us, and that's such a wonderful gesture, that donating money is really the wise way to go here.
Thank you. That is a startling piece of information that I was not aware of, and I hope will make people realize that it's a multiplier effect. So so it has the best benefit. My next question, I think, might be for Casey Hatchett. I know that we have CERT, and there are a lot of people looking to get physically involved. So what are our efforts around, people that say that they've got nothing to do now because they either got laid off or they're home from school earlier than they anticipated? How are we training these people to be able to put them out? Or are we turning them away because, there's such a risk?
So we're not turning people away. Thank you, Heather. I will say that our Community Emergency Response Team, known as the CERT, and our Medical Reserve Corps, our MRC, collectively have about 400 volunteers that have been trained and are vetted by the town. They've been Cory checked. I would like to just say to all the panelists here, and the work that you're doing, and I am connecting with Bonnie this afternoon on this. If you need people that are doing home deliveries or working directly with residents that you want to make sure have been vetted, please reach out to us, because we do have a large pool of people who are ready to help. The Town of Brookline COVID website also has a page where you can sign up to volunteer in the community, and then we'll be connecting our people with many of you who are on the screen right now, particularly the food pantry. We've been directing a lot of resources towards food pantry to help fill their shifts there. But yes, we will definitely take volunteers if they can sign up on the website, and we are continuing to offer the resources of our certain MRC volunteers in the community.
Great.
And Cheryl Snyder would just like to add one more thing.
Great. Well, before she does, I'm getting my first question, which is, are there tasks for CERT?
Yes, actually, we're sending out information about tasks for CERT and MRC as they come up. The first and most important was to get help over to the food pantry. So I know a lot of people emailed the food pantry after we sent that request out. We are getting spontaneous volunteers who are signing up on that website. They can also email covidvolunteer@brooklinema.com to send an email if they can't find the link. Additionally, we have had some volunteers through the Medical Reserve Corps and CERT handing out flyers, posting them at buildings with more than 6 units throughout the town. That happened last Friday, Monday, and yesterday. I believe that process is nearly complete now. The next thing that we're going to have up for our CERT and MRC volunteers is the phone calls. I think Casey mentioned we're putting together a friendly volunteer phone call bank, as well as we're going to have our licensed social workers, psychologists, et cetera, on the Medical Reserve team, helping to backfill or add to the social workers who are available at the Council on Aging, at the Brookline Mental Health Center, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. We are identifying volunteers and volunteer needs as they come up, and we're reaching out to our groups. We're not going to be adding non-medical volunteers to our CERT or MRC at this time, but we will be keeping them informed of what tasks are needed and getting them involved as quickly as possible. We're working on that now that the flyering is complete.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I don't see any more open questions, but there was an open question that just wanted me to reiterate the COVID website, which is brooklinecovid19.com. There is going to be a small business committee virtual meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. For any small businesses that have lots and lots of questions, which I saw one in particular in the Q&A. I'm looking for any other questions.
I'm raising my hand.
Oh,
Heather.
sorry. Okay.
It's not really a question, but one thing that I neglected to mention, but I really wanted to say because it was important, is in our precinct, one of our town meeting members got our voter rolls from town hall with age and phone number so that we could divvy up the list and call elders in the precinct, people who are possibly less likely to be on email. And we just wanted to figure out ways to get help to people, and also that created a way that people could help without leaving their home. And I think that's quite doable. Then we had do we make that list public? Well, it's really a public list, so anyone could see it anyway. It felt a little weird sharing broadly, but it did feel like a way that other precincts also might want to think about how to reach out within the precinct without reaching out physically.
Excellent. That's a great point. So hold on, I spoke too soon. Please repeat email address that volunteers can use to find who needs help. Casey, do you want to repeat the email address?
COVID volunteers at brooklinema.gov.
Great. We're getting a request for Chi-Chi to try one more time to just 10 seconds distill what you tried to say before. Hopefully the technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I accidentally covered my mic when I was trying to lift it to my mouth. I just wanted to ask folks, if you have materials in multiple Asian languages, we can send that out to our listserv, our Facebook page, and we are hoping to have an event focused on the Asian community. Short enough?
Perfect. Excellent. So those were the only questions that I have in the queue. Do any of the panelists have questions for each other? If not, Bonnie, Raul, if you want to go.
I just briefly wanted to mention, and I see Select Board Member Nancy Heller has been an attendee of this. She and I both co-chair the Census Complete Count Committee. They're actually members of the committee on this call too. Just wanted to remind everyone to complete the census. You should have received some 2 pieces of mail by now with some links there on how to do it online. The website, though, you can go there directly, is my2020census.gov. Again, that's my2020census.gov. We don't have any other information about the census being delayed at this point. That may happen, but in the meantime, we want to make sure that we encourage everyone to complete the census so that we all get counted, and so that especially the people who are the most vulnerable here in Brookline get the resources they need that is directly tied to the population counts that come out of the census. So please complete that at your earliest convenience. Thanks.
Great. So Mary, to answer your questions, there's a small business meeting going on tomorrow virtually. And you can feel free to email Kara Bruton about your business related questions. Kara, if you can just type your Brookline email address, that might help facilitate. Any resources for families in need of thermometers? That seems like it will be an outstanding question, and we will try to address it.
Bonnie, were you trying to raise your hand? I think Bonnie has an answer to that, Heather.
You will need to unmute yourself.
Yep, here I am. Thermometers. We are happy to deliver thermometers if you need thermometers. If that is on the list of things that are in a shortage around town, we can do our best to find some and start to collect some. So if anyone needs them, we can have a pile of them that we can disperse. We've been doing that with toilet paper. If there's anybody who's in need of toilet paper, we're trying to do that with disinfecting supplies also. Happy to hold on to some of those if that's a big need that people are finding.
Thank you very much. So I don't see outstanding questions in either the chat or the Q&A. So let me just formally wrap us up. I hope you have found this discussion worthwhile. I want to emphasize that Brookline's default aid fund will be the safety net fund currently managed by the Brookline Community Foundation. Please, please, please consider donating monetarily, which is the most urgent need right now for most of these organizations. We don't know how things will unfold over the next few days and weeks to come, but after hearing today's discussion, one thing we do know is that this won't be the last time we host one of these sessions. In fact, we're planning several that will focus on faith communities, schools, and how we can all be allies for the Asian American community during this time. Details to come. I want to echo that this is a constantly evolving situation. For the latest information about what is happening in Brookline, you should regularly check brooklinecovid19.com, the town's dedicated COVID-19 website. Thank you to all of you for your time, strength, and your compassion during this crisis. We'll get through this and we'll do it together. A big thank you to Kathy and her team at Brookline Interactive Group. Democracy doesn't take a day off, and the only way that that has held true is due to their efforts. Please support BIG by filling out their survey. So thank you for all of you who dialed in and listened, and all of you who participated as a panelist. I really, really appreciate it, and I've learned so much. And a big thank you to Raul Fernandez for helping to coordinate the back end. If he had not, I'm not sure that we would have been able to pull this off with as many people as possible. So thank you very much. And this will be posted so that other people who are not able to make it today can hopefully reap the value.